Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Commonwealth Speakers Conference in New Delhi, highlights India's role as leading voice of the Global South. United States announces Phase 2 of Gaza's ceasefire plan, forms a 15-member technocratic committee to govern the Palestinian enclave. The US is withdrawing some troops from its military bases in West Asia after Iran warns of retaliation if it is attacked. And polls open in Uganda's presidential and parliamentary elections. Logistical delays disrupt voting in parts of the country amid an internet shutdown. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday inaugurated and addressed the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth at the Parliament House complex, fourth time that India is hosting this event. In his address, Prime Minister highlighted India's success in turning diversity into democratic strength, countering early doubts about its survival and development post-independence. Prime Minister said that democratic institutions deliver stability, speed and scale, as evidenced by India being the world's fastest growing major economy today. The theme of this conference is effective delivery of parliamentary democracy.
ये चौथा अवसर है जब कॉमनवेल्थ स्पीकर्स और प्रिसाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स की कॉन्फ्रेंस भारत में हो रही है। इस बार इस कॉन्फ्रेंस का मुख्य विषय इफेक्टिव डिलीवरी ऑफ पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी है। आप सभी जानते हैं कि जब भारत आजाद हुआ तो उस दौर में ये आशंका व्यक्त की गई थी कि इतनी डाइवर्सिटी में भारत में लोकतंत्र टिक नहीं पाएगा, लेकिन भारत ने इसी डाइवर्सिटी को डेमोक्रेसी की ताकत बना दिया। एक सबसे बड़ी आशंका ये भी थी कि अगर भारत में लोकतंत्र अगर जैसे तैसे टिक भी गया तो भारत किसी भी हालत में विकास नहीं कर पाएगा। लेकिन भारत ने साबित किया कि डेमोक्रेटिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस और डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोसेसेस डेमोक्रेसी के स्टेबिलिटी, स्पीड और स्केल तीनों देते हैं। भारत दुनिया की फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग मेजर इकोनॉमी है।
Prime Minister met with delegates from several Commonwealth nations at the conference, which aims to foster global parliamentary dialogue and cooperation. At the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers, the Commonwealth in Delhi, an exhibition highlighted Bharat on the move. It talks about the rise of the nation, depicting different sectors from defense to digital economy. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo gets us more.
India has emerged as the leader of the Global South under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let's take a look on how Bharat is on the move. We start off with defense. Defense exports hit a record $236 billion in 2024-25 with a 34% fold rise since 2014. India emerging as a global security partner. Building INS Vikrant and BrahMos indigenously, with Philippines approving BrahMos purchase. Two more nations have shown interest. World is a family. From the global arena to the space sector, India's space sector defining milestones for 2025, 132 spacecraft missions, 102 launch missions, and 433 foreign satellite launched. We now come to the nuclear energy, which has been the focus of Narendra Modi government, powering a clean and secure future 2025. India currently operates 22 nuclear reactors. From nuclear to digital, the digital payment has been a huge hit across the globe, and here it has been displayed the digital governance. From science and technology to information technology, power to empower. From the old to this new parliament building, there has been a tremendous progress that India has made, and that is why we say that Bharat is on the move. With cameraman Naveen Tiwari in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
India is celebrating 78th Army Day today. Army Day celebrations in the city of Jaipur turned the Pink City's public streets into a showcase of India's military might, modern warfare readiness and self-reliance as the Indian Army displayed its combat power, discipline and cutting-edge technology. The Army Day parade took place at Mahal Road in Jagatpura, marking the first time the event was organized outside the cantonment area. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, and Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi attended the celebrations. The parade showcased Indian Army's firepower and modernization with displays of BrahMos cruise missile, Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher, upgraded BM-21 Grad Smirk rocket, M777 ultralight howitzers, and advanced towed artillery gun system. At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President of the European Council Antonio Costa and President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen will undertake a state visit to India from January 25th to 27th. They will serve as the chief guest at the 77th Republic Day celebrations on January 26th. The leaders will meet President Draupadi Murmu, hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Modi, and co-chair the 16th India-EU Summit on January 27th. An India-EU Business Forum will also take place on the sidelines. This high-level engagement follows the historic EU College of Commissioners visit in February last year and will further strengthen strategic partnership established in 2004. US President Donald Trump has said Tehran has no plan to execute protesters but still hasn't ruled out US military action against the country. The US, UK are both reducing the number of personnel at the airbase in Qatar. Iran has reopened its airspace after a near 5-hour closure that forced airlines to cancel, reroute or delay some flights. The United Nations Security Council is scheduled to meet on Thursday for a briefing on the situation in Iran. Here's more.
The United States is withdrawing some personnel from bases in West Asia. Tehran warned neighbors it would hit American bases if Washington strikes. Two European officials said US military intervention could come in the next 24 hours. An Israeli official also said it appeared Trump had decided to intervene, though the scope and timing remained unclear. The UN Security Council will meet Thursday afternoon to discuss the situation in Iran. The meeting was requested by the United States amid growing international concern over unrest and escalating tensions involving Iran. At the White House, however, Trump suggested he was adopting a wait and see posture towards the crisis. Trump said he has been told that killings in the Iranian government's crackdown on the protests were subsiding and that he believes there is currently no plan for large scale executions.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset, but that's just gotten to me, some information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution.
Tehran had asked US allies in the region to prevent Washington from attacking Iran. Direct contacts between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff have been suspended. Araghchi said on Wednesday there is no plan by Iran to hang people when asked about the anti-government protests.
For one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. And there is no any hanging today or tomorrow or whatever. I can tell you, I'm confident about that, there is no plan for hanging at all.
Iran reopened its airspace after a near 5-hour closure amid concerns about possible military action between the US and Iran that forced airlines to cancel, reroute, or delay some flights. Iran closed its airspace to all flights except international ones and from Iran with official permission on Wednesday. The notice was removed shortly. Anamika Pandey's report for DD India.
NATO will not allow Russia or China to use the Arctic region for military purposes, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said on Thursday, after Germany said it would join European partners in sending soldiers on a reconnaissance mission to Greenland. Germany, France, Sweden and Norway on Wednesday announced the deployments shortly after Washington meeting between United States, Danish and Greenlandic officials had failed to resolve the disagreement over the island. Meanwhile, Russia has expressed its concern over arrival of NATO forces in Greenland. Russia on Thursday expelled a British diplomat after being identified as a British spy by the Federal Security Service, or FSB. The FSB named the British diplomat and said he was working undercover for British spy service. The diplomat has been given 2 weeks to leave Russia. However, Britain's Foreign Office rejected the accusations as malicious and baseless. The Kremlin said on Thursday that the United States has still not responded to Russia's recent proposal on nuclear arms control, leaving the future of strategic stability talks uncertain. In a briefing, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov endorsed President Trump's view that Ukrainian President Zelensky is the main obstacle in achieving peace in Ukraine. Peskov accused President Zelensky of deliberately blocking negotiations and prolonging the conflict.
The situation for the Kyiv regime is getting worse day by day, as we have said, and the room for making a decision is narrowing for them. We said in last year that the time had long come for Zelensky to take responsibility and make the appropriate decision. So far, this has not been done in Kyiv.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Philippines and Japan on Thursday signed an agreement allowing for resupply of fuel and ammunition to each other's forces, with both countries seeking to strengthen security cooperation in response to rising regional tensions. The countries have deepened military ties in recent years, with both joining a security partnership with Washington. In Nigeria's Kano, Jamilu Usman is keeping alive a 200-year-old family tradition of producing jaggery, a natural sweetener locally known as maza bala, a country that imports 96% of its sugar. Rome is introducing a new speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour in its historic center to reduce accidents and pollution. The new limit will be effective from Thursday, nearly halving the previous 50 kilometers per hour restriction. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. NASA's Crew 11 emerged from capsule after splashdown.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The United States announced the start of the next phase of Gaza peace plan on Wednesday as new committee was formed to run the battered enclave. US President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff on Wednesday announced the launch of phase 2 of Trump's 20-point plan to end the Gaza conflict. In a post on social media on Wednesday, Witkoff said, Phase 2 establishes a transitional technocratic Palestinian administration in Gaza, the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, and begins the full demilitarization and reconstruction of Gaza, primarily disarmament of all unauthorized personnel. He underlined that United States expect Hamas to fully comply with its obligations, including the immediate return of final deceased hostage. He warned failure to do so will bring serious consequences. Witkoff also highlighted achievements of the earlier stage and said Phase 1 had delivered historic humanitarian aid, ensuring the continuation of the ceasefire. Witkoff also expressed gratitude to regional mediators for their role in advancing the process. Earlier in October of 2025, Israel and Hamas accepted the initial stage of Trump's 20-point framework, which includes a ceasefire in their 2-year conflict and a deal on release of Israeli hostages. India on Thursday expressed deep sorrow over the deadly train accident in northeastern Thailand, with Ministry of External Affairs conveying condolences to the Thai government and people. In a statement shared on social media, MEA says it was deeply saddened by the tragic loss of lives and injuries in the accident on Wednesday in Nakhon Ratchasima province and extended sympathies to the affected families, wished speedy recovery to those injured. The tragedy occurred when a construction crane collapsed onto a passing passenger train, causing at least 2 carriages to derail and briefly catch fire. At least 32 people were killed, 66 injured, as the cleanup and recovery operations are underway. Another similar accident has been reported near Thailand's capital on Thursday, where a crane collapsed onto a road, crushing 2 vehicles, killing 2 people. Voters in Wampivo waited in long queues in Uganda on Thursday after polling materials arrived late at a local voting centre, delaying the start of the general elections. Residents gathered outside the station from early morning, many holding their documentation as they waited for their machines and ballot boxes to be delivered. Security personnel monitored the area as election officials brought the ballot boxes, marked the Electoral Commission. The vote comes as President Yoweri Museveni, who is seeking to extend his rule into a 5th decade, faces a challenge from popular singer-turned-politician Bobi Wine. The election is seen as a test of the 81-year-old leader's political strength and his ability to avoid the kind of unrest that has recently shaken neighbors Tanzania and Kenya. A SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule carrying NASA's Crew 11 safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off San Diego on Thursday after an emergency return from the International Space Station. The unscheduled 10-hour-plus descent was triggered by a serious undisclosed medical condition affecting one of the 4 astronauts. The capsule endured a fiery re-entry before parachuting into calm seas under clear skies. NASA and SpaceX confirmed all 4 astronauts are in stable condition and undergoing medical evaluation following the unprecedented early return. India's lower house or Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla held a cordial interaction with Milton Dick, Speaker of the House of Representatives of Australia, underscoring the growing strength of India-Australia partnership. The interaction highlighted shared democratic values that bind the two nations and emphasized the importance of parliamentary cooperation in shaping a more inclusive and collaborative future. Both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to deepening institutional engagement and expanding parliamentary exchanges. Speaker Om Birla and Milton Dick agreed to people-to-people ties remain cornerstone of the relationship and pledged to encourage greater collaboration across education, culture and innovation. Niti Aayog has proposed convergence of similar schemes spread across ministries for the micro, small and medium enterprises or MSMEs through a well-coordinated governance structure to enable smoother implementation and greater efficiency in the sector. A centralized portal and coordinated skill development framework are suggested to enhance scheme impact and beneficiary mobilization.
So the purpose of this particular exercise, as you can be seen from the title, it says achieving efficiencies in MSME sector through convergence of schemes. So the key word is convergence of schemes. To look at services, they are actually the predominant share of services also. You know, we think we associate MSME with small things and IT is big companies. No, there are a lot of service sector. All retail is MSME, by the way. So if you look at the 6 crore odd companies which are in your the database of MSME, bulk of them are in small 1, 2, 3 employee size companies, and they are both over manufacturing and services. So they are the engines of the Indian economy at the bottom.
In sports, Scott Robertson has stepped down as the New Zealand rugby coach following an internal review of the All Blacks performance. Speculation over Robertson's future had mounted since December amid news of friction between senior players and All Black staff. Robertson, who replaced Ian Foster after the 2023 World Cup, guided the All Blacks to 10 wins of 13 tests in 2025 season. However, Robertson came under pressure following a first-ever defeat to Argentina and a record 43-10 loss to South Africa in Wellington. The All Blacks were also well beaten by England at Twickenham in November, ending their hopes of completing a grand slam of wins against the home nations. 9-time Olympic gold medalist Katie Ledecky clocked the second fastest women's 1500-meter freestyle time in history to begin her US Pro Swim Series campaign with the dominant victory. Ledecky was untouchable as she cruised to victory in 15 minutes and 23.21 seconds, more than a minute in front of the runners-up Brinkley Hansen. Ledecky didn't threaten her world record of 15 minutes and 20.48 seconds set in 2018, but improved on her second best time that she had set in last year's edition. The stage is set for a blockbuster Africa Cup of Nations final as 2021 winner Senegal is set to take on Morocco on Sunday. Youssef and Nasri's netted the decisive spot kick as host Morocco secured a 4-2 shootout victory over Nigeria following their 0-0 draw in 10th Africa Cup of Nations semi-finals. Meanwhile, Sadio Mane's dramatic goal in the final minutes of the sent Senegal into Africa Cup of Nations final, edging Egypt 1-0. Morocco, seeking their first continental title in 50 years, will face Senegal in Sunday's summit clash, while Nigeria takes on Egypt in the third place playoff. That's all in this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screen and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.